Hello, hello, hello. My name's Elder, and welcome back to The Open Debate. Today, we're going to be looking at a story that's been making the rounds today. Something that's pretty interesting, a little strange, a little out of the norm, not something that is normally talked about on the channel, and this is The Open Debate, so if you're tuning in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, whenever you happen to be here, thank you for joining this live event. The community here is a place for individuals to get together to discuss topics that may be hard for other individuals to discuss. It's a place where freedom of speech is absolute. So come join the discussion, boys and girls. What we're talking about today is a strange topic. The information around the story is skewed. It's not quite linear, but apparently, it could go one of two ways. There are a couple in the United States, Kristen Barnett and Michael Barnett, who are being accused of neglecting their adopted daughter. Although, on the other hand, there are claims that this adopted daughter is actually an adult. So, essentially, it's the story, the plot points from the movie Orphan, if you've ever seen that. But this story is absolutely wild, and I'm gonna talk about it here tonight, and I'm gonna bring it up to the community, see how you guys feel. If you've ever seen anything like this happen before, and also the question of media turning into reality, or things within creative minds, the things that happen in not just social media but in the media turning into reality. It's a very strange thing that happens every now and then. But before we get started, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can always donate through Streamlabs, and that will allow a message to pop up on screen, and a little robotic voice will play out the message for you. Also, I have a PayPal and Patreon, and as well as sharing these videos, liking and commenting, engaging in the community is really the best way to help support the channel. If you want to help us grow, you want to see this community build, come on and join us, guys. Links will be in the chat, be in the description below, but let's just get into the story. So, we'll go with the first wave. Parents accused of abandoning adopted child in apartment. Mom says it's a scam. Right? So, what is actually happening? Indianapolis wish. Parents from central Indiana are accused of leaving an adopted child alone in an apartment and moving to Canada. The girl may have just been 9 or 10 years old at the time of the alleged abandonment, and has a form of dwarfism. So that's where the confusion comes in, I guess you could say. And so I won't bury the lead. So what I know about this story so far is that there is a young lady who was adopted by two individuals. She has a form of dwarfism, and they believe that she is actually an adult due to certain circumstances that she displayed throughout the time that she was in their care. And so we'll keep going, but what is going on? So court documents also state legally when the child was left, she may have actually been 23 or 24 years old. News 8 is still trying to get to the bottom of that. The mother, in this case, tells News 8 that she didn't know about the charge until we told her. She calls the girl a diagnosed psychopath and sociopath. So clearly she doesn't know what those terms mean, because... Okay, according to a court document in Tippecanoe County, Michael Barnett, 43, and his now ex-wife, Kristen Barnett, 45, face a pair of felony charges for neglect of a dependent. Though both parents have addresses in Indianapolis, investigators say they left the girl at an apartment on North 11th Street in Lafayette beginning in July 2013, then moved to Canada within the next 30 days. The charges allege the couple's neglect continued through February 2016. So for the next 3 years, they left this girl in an apartment for 3 years, paying the rent, and they moved to Canada because, in their opinion, this was an adult. Whoa!
And first tonight, a story of child neglect that is...
Pause that there. In their eyes, it was an adult, not a child. And, yeah. Medical records in 2010 show a doctor estimated her age to be 8 years old, though. Court documents show that in 2012, the girl's age was legally changed from 8 to 22 in an Indiana probate court, a process which is unclear. It's the same year a skeletal survey of Peyton Manning's Children's Hospital estimated her age to be 11 years old, right? And so, what is really going on here? It's such a confusing story. News 8 has learned that Michael and Christine filed for divorce in 2014 in Marion County, 7 months after allegedly abandoning the girl in Lafayette. Their divorce became final in 2018. So they've been going through a divorce through this whole time, yada yada yada. The neglect in this case covers a time span ending in February 28th, 2016, and the girl moved out of Tippecanoe County exactly 15 days later. A different couple petitioned to become guardians for the girl. And News 8 has determined that the Barnetts filed an objection, and the case references an age issue. The petition was dismantled almost 2 years after January 2018, when the second couple changed their minds, but there's no mention of why, right? And so this is just a weird story, right? And I'll put the links for both these stories that I'm going to read to you in the chat below after I'm finished. But essentially, these two parents are being accused of neglecting this child who was apparently between the ages of 8 and 11, and they left her alone for 3 years in an apartment that they paid for. I'll play this real quick, see what they have to say here in the this little article, and then we'll go to the second perspective of what potentially is going on here. So we'll see what's up, guys.
In an apartment. And first tonight, a story of child neglect that is really beyond belief. Parents accused of leaving an adopted child alone in an apartment and then moving to Canada.
So the girl may have been just 9 or 10 years old. Doctors say she has a form of dwarfism. Wish TV's Dan Klein joins us now. Dan, that is just the beginning. This is a bizarre story with a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah, because just for one of these things, legally, this girl was 23 or 24 when her parents left her, legally. And we're still trying to get to the bottom of that. In fact, her mom tells me she didn't know she was charged until I told her, and she tells me the girl is a diagnosed psychopath and sociopath.
Michael Barnett? It's a story, frankly, with more questions than answers. According to these court documents, Michael Barnett and his now ex-wife, Christine Barnett, face a pair of felony charges for neglect of a dependent. Though both have addresses in Indianapolis, investigators say they left a girl at an apartment here on North 11th Street in Lafayette between July 2013 and February 2016, then moved to Canada and haven't seen her since, leaving her alone and only paying her rent. Court documents say they had adopted her 3 years earlier in 2010, 2 years after she came from the Ukraine. But in 2012, her age was legally changed from 8 to 22, in a process which is still unclear. It's the same year a skeletal survey at Peyton Manning Children's Hospital estimated her age to be 11 years old. The girl has a form of dwarfism which could make an exact age difficult to determine, though according to court documents, Michael admitted he believed the girl to be a minor when he and Christine left the country. News 8 has learned Michael and Christine filed for divorce in 2014 in Marion County, 7 months after leaving the girl in Lafayette. The divorce became final in 2018. We went to the house on the Far East Side near 16th and Post Road, listed as the home of Christine Barnett, a.k.a. Christine Pearson. No one appeared to be home. But at Michael's home at 63rd and Michigan, the people inside refused to answer the door. We reached out to Christine on Facebook. She claimed to not know about the charges said the situation with the girl was complicated, and said the girl was diagnosed as both a psychopath and a sociopath. She said the adoption was a scam, and the girl is actually an adult and has been an adult the entire time she's known her, but refused to provide additional details.
So many twists and turns in this case. Now, the neglect in this case covers a time span that ends on February 28th, 2016. 15 days later, a different couple petitioned.
So they literally pretty much just said everything that I just read in the article. But as you can see there's an investigation going into these parents, the adopted parents of this girl, and the information is skewed. But what is the other side of the story? What do they have to say about this, and why would they have left this girl alone in an apartment for 3 years? And why did they pay the rent? Why were they still taking care of her? And so we're gonna get into the second half of the story. The second, there's always two sides to the coin, right? And this is coming out from the Daily Mail, exclusive. She tried to kill us. Indiana mother who adopted 6-year-old Ukrainian girl with dwarfism, who has been charged with abandonment, but claims her daughter was found to be 22 years old. A 22-year-old sociopath masquerading as a child. That's an absolutely wild headline. It's so long and so crazy. But either way, here we'll go through a bit of information. Kristen Barnett, 45, and ex-husband Michael Barnett, 43, have been charged with abandoning their daughter while she was 9, right? And fleeing to Canada. In an exclusive interview with the Daily Mail TV, Kristen denies the claims. Then she says that she and Michael were victims of fraud, and claiming that the girl they adopted was an adult con artist who tried to kill her. Kristen and Michael agreed to the emergency adoption of Ukrainian-born Natalie Grace in May 2010 from Florida, and were told she was 6. Within a year, Kristen claims Natalie tried pushing her onto an electric fence, poured bleach onto her coffee, and threatened to stab the Barnetts in their sleep. Natalia was treated by mental health specialists who determined she was an adult and pressed for the courts to have her birth certificate changed. In 2012, Marion County Superior Court, Indianapolis, decided Natalia was born in 1989 based on medical evidence, older than I am. The Barnetts moved to Canada and left Natalia in an apartment in Lafayette. A September 11th affidavit and probo cause obtained by Daily Mail TV states that experts carried out bone density tests on Natalia in June 2010 and concluded she was 8 years old. Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department alleged that Natalia was a child when they abandoned her in 2013. Arrest warrants were issued. Both Michael and Catherine were surrendered to authorities and have been released on bail. What does this even mean? That the series of information from here to there conflicts with this to there. That the last 3 points don't make that. What is this? So we'll keep going though, because let me know what you guys think about this story, because it is going to be ongoing, and there are photos of the girl in this article, and personally it does look as though she's definitely older than 8 years old, but we'll go. That's not the girl, by the way. Okay, so it has all the elements of a horror movie. An unsuspecting Christian couple adopts an adorable little girl only to discover she's an adult sociopath masquerading as a child. If the premise sounds familiar, that's because it's virtually the exact same as the plot of the 2009 big screen chiller Orphan, where a pigtailed youngster tries to murder her family when it's revealed she is actually 33. Hey, how's it going there, Betsy Gray O'Malley? Thanks for the join. Come on, hang out with us in the chat. But yeah, no, this was probably on Law and Order as well. It's literally a plot point to movie series. That's why I said earlier, how do you all feel about media becoming reality and how that actually happens? This is the truth. But as far-fetched as it sounds, this is the astonishing defense put forward by a mom of 3 and parenting author shockingly accused of felony neglect of abandoning her adopted daughter. Kristen Barnett, 45, and her ex-husband, Michael Barnett, 43, are alleged to have dumped Ukrainian-born Natalia Grace at an apartment in Lafayette, Indiana in 2013, before moving to Canada 1 month later and breaking off contact. Right? So we already know. This is the girl here. Kristen Barnett, so this must be Kristen. She's 45. Pictured, next husband Michael, charged with abandoning their daughter. We already know that. Said they tried to kill her. This is the young girl, supposed to be 8 years old. Now, because of her condition, it is a little bit hard to tell. Cypher, thanks for joining us in the chat there. It's an interesting situation. Well, you said you're withholding your belief until you see her picture. I'm showing you right now, man. This is her. She's right here. This is another picture of her. She looks a little bit younger there, but also I'm not 100% sure. And we'll get into there's a little bit more information within this article, so we'll get into that as well. But Natalia, pictured days after being collected from her Florida adoption center in May 2013 by the Barnetts, soon had her parents suspicious when Natalia had her period and an adult vocabulary at 7 years old. Right? And that's the picture. So she was getting her period. Then, that can happen. That can definitely happen. But she's a little, but that's whatever. Kristen and Michael agreed to the emergency adoption of a Ukrainian-born Natalia, 2010. Right? It just shows like that. They're just saying like, okay, yeah, that can happen. But Natalia pictured being homeschooled in December 2010. Kristen Bennett claims that Natalia tried pushing her onto an electric fence, poured bleach onto her coffee, and threatened to stab the Barnetts in their sleep. This sweet little girl. You think that happened? That's the question. It's the question that we have. I think this is an interview with the girl, so let's check it out.
Daily Mail TV exclusive. We sat down with the mom accused of adopting and abandoning a little girl from the Ukraine. Christine Barnett is being charged. Daily Mail TV exclusive. We sat down with the mom accused of adopting and abandoning a little girl from the Ukraine. Christine Barnett is being
I'm not going through this whole runaround when the audio doesn't work and stuff like that again. Just going to go ahead and click that. We're not listening to the video. Police say that the girl was left to fend for herself for 3 years despite having a rare form of dwarfism that means that she is 3 feet tall and has problems walking. But in an exclusive interview with the Daily Mail TV at an undisclosed location, Christine insists there's a major flaw in their case. Natalia was not a 9-year-old, as charging in the documents claim. She was actually 22, as we've gone over, right? So it's conflicting. Essentially, this is the whole story, right? These two they say that the girl is 22, but why do they say she's 22? She was standing over people in the middle of the night. You couldn't go to sleep. We had to hide all the sharp objects. I saw her putting chemicals, bleach, Windex, something like that in my coffee, and I asked her, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm trying to poison you." Like she just came out and said, "I'm trying to poison you." Okay. The media is painting me to be a child abuser, but there's no child here, said Barnett. Natalia is a woman. She has periods. She has adult teeth. She never grew a single inch. Okay. Which would happen even with a child with dwarfism. The doctors all confirmed she was suffering with severe psychological illnesses, only diagnosed in adults. She was jumping out of moving cars. She was smearing blood on mirrors. She was doing things you could never imagine little child's doing. Before criminal charges were even leveled at them on September 11th, Barnett and ex-husband Michael were hauled as exemplary parents who raised child genius Jake Barnett. right? So they've done a good job at raising kids in the past. Apparently, their track record seems to be decent, but whatever. It's a weird, interesting story. There's evidence for both sides. They're talking about Jake here, going through. See, this is the girl. It's super interesting. It's very interesting to me, and I wanted to bring it up to the community, right? Exactly. Thanks for joining us, Shadow. It's like the real life orphan movie, or it's a story of parents who have neglected a young child because of her disability, and they're trying to play it off as though it's something like if they just didn't want to take care of the girl or whatever was happening, right? It's an interesting story because there are two perspectives that are being played out, much like many instances in the media today. So Natalia was extremely nervous. You could see she was going to need a lot of support and care. We did notice immediately in the parking lot that she couldn't walk. There was nothing in the paperwork stating that, right? So those are like interesting statements, right? Over the next few days, the couple showered Natalia with attention, talking to her, taking her to Disney World, enjoying ice cream treats and playful pillow fights with her three brothers to slowly bring her out of her shell. Regardless, whatever, they're just going to talk about stuff. They're just going to talk about their home life and everything like that. This is a super long article. There is a young lady who actually, I saw this girl talking about this earlier, and I thought it was an old story, and then I just actually really saw the articles popping up on the news, so I thought, hey, I'll actually bring this up to the community. But her name on YouTube is Ready to Glare, and she does a really good job of covering the story. I'll put the links as well in the description after the video's done. But if you want an in-depth look into this video, she has 2 videos, like a 2-part series on everything that's happened, and it's way more in-depth than what I've gone into tonight. So if you really want to check it out and you're interested in this, I tell you definitely go over and check that out. Ready to Glare is the YouTube channel, and she does a lot of cool stuff. But with that being said, I'm going to pass the story over to you guys. Like, what do you think? Do you think, like, look it up for yourself and then let me know where you stand. Pop over in the Discord, hang out in the chat below. We're going to be all over the place. I'm always on YouTube, so I'm always responding in the chat, and I'm always on Discord because it comes right to my phone. But yeah, guys, the question's on you. You think this is a 22-year-old woman, or do you think this is an 8-year-old girl that's been neglected by her parents? It's an interesting story to me, and I thought that I'd bring it up for the community to talk about here tonight. But with that being said, my name's Elder. This has been the Open Debate. Be your own hero, kids.